Podcast on the battle for Bihar. It's a battle for pride and prestige, a battle between the experienced and the youth, and a fight for the women vote and the youth vote. It is a battle for alliances, one that is vying to win a majority in the 243-member Assembly of Bihar. The NDA is citing its track record as it seeks another term, while the Mahagathbandhan is banking on promises for the future. And then there is the surprise factor, the new factor of Prashant Kishore and his new party, the Jan Swaraj. Will he cut into votes? Whose votes will he cut into? Or will he emerge as a key player, perhaps even a kingmaker? Before we get a sense of what the mood on the ground in Bihar is, it's the final battle for 2025. Let's quickly plot the big things to watch out for in this election. But first, here's what is at stake for both the alliances in this big battle for Bihar.
एनडीए का जो घोषणा पत्र आया है,
क्या बिहार में आपको शिक्षा मिल सकती है?
कांग्रेस की कनपट्टी पर कट्टा रखकर सीएम पद चोरी कर लिया।
फिर कहना उनसे, नरेंद्र मोदी जी, हम आपको चुनाव जितवा देंगे, आप 2-3 योगा के आसन कर दो स्टेज पे, योगा के आसन कर देंगे।
आपको जिंदगी यात्रा निकालने में निकालो, हम एनडीए वाले भाजपा वाले उस बेटिए को चुन कर देश के बाहर निकाल देगा।
सरकार करेगी और 14 जनवरी मकर संक्रांति के दिन मां बहन मान योजना के तहत पूरे 1 साल का 30,000 रुपया माताओं और बहनों के खाते में हम लोग डालने का काम करेंगे।
आरजेडी का मतलब क्या होता है? आर का मतलब होता है रंगदारी, जे का मतलब होता है जंगल राज और डी का मतलब होता है दादागिरी।
within the Congress organization. However, this experiment seemed to have completely failed.
आप महिला भी है, युवा भी है, बहुत बड़ा ये फैक्टर है आपके लिए।
Prashant Kishore is like the new star on the horizon.
The government has decided to give 10,000 rupees into the account of women.
So, before we go into the deep dive and see who has the edge, let's get you the meta picture, the 30,000 feet view as far as this phase is concerned. The first phase of voting, it's 121 seats. It's in the central part of Bihar. What's at stake and for who? 3 crore plus voters in this first phase, more than 1,300 candidates in the fray. In fact, in the 2020 first phase, the scorecard read 59 to the NDA and to the India Gathbandhan, it was 61. So in this phase, it was actually the India Alliance which had a slight edge at 61 seats compared to 59 for the NDA. 30% of the candidates, 1 in 3 candidates in this phase, face some kind of criminal charge or the other. There's also the critical factor, the SIR, which the opposition had made a lot of noise around before the start of campaigning. 57 seats in this phase could see the possible impact of the SIR exercise. The other unpredictable X factor, simply because we don't have any historic data for this, is the first time entrant, the person who's making his debut in this election, PK and his Jan Swaraj party. Will he actually come a cropper or will he become kingmaker? Tejashwi Yadav is promising jobs to more than 2 crore youths in Bihar in 20 days. Amit Shah is vowing to deport all the Guspetiya or the illegal immigrants, the infiltrators. The stage is set for the final electoral battle, the big battle for Bihar 2025. But before we go to our editors, our reporters, we have a special sort of package here that we've put together here on CNN News 18, where we look at how our different reporters and editors over the last 20 days, almost a month, have traveled across the length and breadth of poll-bound Bihar. We have gauged the pulse of Bihar like no other channel has. Our team has traveled across Siwan, Mokama, Rohtas, Nalanda, Bhagalpur, Darbhanga, Sasaram, Chhapra, Gopalganj, Vaishali, Lalganj, Danapur, Samastipur, Katihar, Bihar Sharif, Ali Nagar, Mahua, no other network, no other channel has sent as many reporters to as many places as we have over the last 20 days to a month. So we have the best sense of what is happening on the ground, and we have the best set of editors and reporters here in our studios. I want to introduce Aman Sharma, our political editor, Rahul Shivshankar, our consulting editor, Pallavi Ghosh, our senior editor, Madhuparna Das, a senior editor, and also our two senior editors who are joining us live, trans-beamed from Patna, Payal Mehta and Arunima. They are being translocated through our immersive technology from our Patna studios, but it seems like they are here with us right here in our Noida studios. So let's start the discussion. Aman, I'll start with you first. What is the big X factor in this election? Why should our viewers care about the battle for Bihar?
See, Zaka, I think Bihar is a very unique state. It's an alphabet soup of parties, and in Bihar, never does a party win an election. It's always an alliance that wins an election. You know, it's a unique state in the matter that the largest party only has about 23-24% vote share. So a party with just a quarter of the vote share ends up as the biggest party. And when we see the last election, hardly anything separated the two alliances. But I think what is working this time and what is going to be the clincher this time, I feel, is how well Nitish Kumar performs. If you see the last election in 2020, Nitish Kumar completely collapsed in that election. You know, out of the 115 seats that Nitish contested, he only won 43. That was just about a 40% strike rate. At that time, many factors were at play. Chirag Paswan, Upendra Kushwaha were fighting against Nitish. They had hurt Nitish party. There was also, I feel, anti-incumbency against Nitish Kumar that time. Of course, the BJP performed the best. It had the best strike rate, and BJP emerged as the single largest party as well, with 74 seats and RJD at 75. But this time, I feel that Nitish Kumar has come over that anti-incumbency. When you travel to the ground this time, though he being 74 and though RJD is saying that, you know, his mental acumen is not as sharp, I still find that people see him as a very wise leader, a very dependable leader. There's basically no choice apart from Nitish Kumar. People are very afraid, especially the women voters, about the Jungle Raj returning to Bihar. So I think how Nitish performs is very, very key to this election. And I think the two schemes that he has brought will determine this election. Number one, the rupees 10,000 scheme for women. You know, 1.3 crore women getting that money into their bank accounts. You travel in Bihar and you'll find women tell you we bought a goat, we bought a sewing machine out of that. And second is the increase in the pension for the old age people from rupees 400 to rupees 1100. That's another nearly rupees 1.2 crore pensioners in Bihar. So I think this 1.3 crore women who've got the money, 1.2 crore pensioners who are going to get higher pension, 2.5 crore solid vote bank, I think Nitish Kumar is being backed by, and I think that will be the clincher. Will RJD's campaign that Nitish Kumar is not fit to be chief minister register with the voters, or will Nitish Kumar's wisdom image? He's done 60 rallies, by the way. You know, many people were questioning his stamina, and he's done 60 rallies as we speak today in Bihar. He's given detailed speeches. So I think this election is all about Nitish Kumar factor.
So Rahul, you know, the two protagonists in this battle for Bihar couldn't be, you know, poles apart, more apart than they are currently. So you have, on the one side, Nitish Kumar. He's got a solid track record of the last 20 years. He's been chief minister almost uninterrupted with a brief interim of Jitan Ram Manji. And then you have, on the other hand, this young man who's trying to challenge him, Tejashwi Yadav, who's speaking to the future of Bihar, but he simply can't seem to be able to shake off the past of his own family, his father and his mother as chief ministers, and the famous Jungle Raj sort of annotation that the Prime Minister has made. So, you know, talk to us about these two protagonists. One seems like stability, continuity, you know, trust and dependence. The other seems to be speaking to the future of Bihar, youth, and so on and so forth.
Well, that's a very good point, Zaka. Fundamentally, I think Nitish Kumar has got a bit of a breather in this election. And I'll just plainly explain it to you via one statistic. Fact is that when the LJSP moved away, Nitish was the hardest hit because the LJSP brought out candidates only in seats where the JDU was contesting. Now, when they came back, you look at the numbers, the JDU led in 74 assembly segments in the 2024 Lok Sabha elections when the LJP returns. So clearly, Nitish there has got a big reprieve. The question that no one is asking really, and many people are sort of looking at PK as one factor, the women voters, the other, of course, factors. But I think the decider is that floating vote of the youth. The one that you're the one that is speaking to the future of Bihar, which is the youth. The other one is trying to retain the future of Bihar. Fundamentally, that voter is going to be 1 in 4 voters. That youth vote between anyone between 18 and 29. Last time, and I don't believe that the youth has completely eclipsed Tejashwi at all. And the Jungle Raj does sort of play on their mind. I think that's an amplified narrative because simply the MGB got 37% of the youth vote in 2020. And the NDA got 36%, 1% less. But if you broke it down between BJP and the RJD, then BJP at 42.6% and the RJD at 39%. So these are solid young voters who are pretty divided there. That's the floating vote.
Okay.
So those are just statistics. Now, the question that you have posed, who is seen as that change agent? 17 million will cast their votes. A large number of them, unfortunately, earn less than 6,000 per month. And I'm talking about 9.4 million. So 9.4 million of these young voters are earning less than 6,000. They're in the gig economy, they're just about starting out, and a massive promise that has been made by Tejashwi, whether it adds up or not, will be an attraction. Let's not underwrite that.
Okay.
It is going to be a definite attraction. Whether they see through the numbers and say, well, we'll stick with the tried and tested, because at least they've delivered, and not a promise, remains to be seen. That's the only X factor that one needs to look at. And PK also fits into that. So
because he's appealing to the same.
Exactly. Will he break that? And these are voters which are not voting along caste lines.
Okay. So before I go to Payal, Arunima, Pallavi, Madhupurna, I want to go back to our 3D graphics and explain the 5 factors, the 5 X factors as we are calling it, that could determine which way this big battle for Bihar will actually play itself out. Now, one of the factors was mentioned about PK, but we'll get to PK in just 1 second. But there are 5 big X factors as far as this election is concerned. Number 1, as both Aman and Rahul said a moment ago, it's going to be a test of Nitish Kumar. He's been in power, like I said, almost uninterrupted since 2005, 20 years. Anti-incumbency, they say, is the biggest sort of bulwark in Indian democracy and Indian elections. It's the thing that, sweeps people off power. But this is going to be a test of Nitish Kumar and whether he can continue for another 5 years in power. Women voters. We saw this in the 2020 election. What saved the JDU, what saved the NDA was women voters. There were 71 constituencies where women outnumbered men by 10%, which means for every 10 male voters, there were 11 women voters. So that is going to be a critical one. It's a constituency that Nitish has cultivated for the last 20 years. The politics of SIR. The opposition made a lot of noise around this. There was the Voter Adhikar Yatra that Rahul Gandhi and Tejashwi Yadav undertook. But somehow when the peak campaigning began, they didn't focus on SIR as much. Maybe it was a non-issue. Maybe it didn't have as much resonance as it did, let's say, in August or in July. Then the crime graph. Now this could cut both ways. Of course, the BJP and the Prime Minister downwards have made repeated references to the Jungle Raj that existed between 1990 and 2005. It's something that Tejashwi Yadav is trying to shake off. But will he be able to? At the same time, his attack has been that under Nitish, the crime graph has been going up. So will that become a talking point? And then, of course, we've all talked about Jan Suraj. Is it hype or is it actually going to make a difference on the ground? PK in every interview, including to some of our folks here, he has said either I'll get 10 seats or I'll get 100 seats. Does it work like that in elections? We will ask them. Let me ask Pallavi Ghosh this. You spoke to Mr. Prashant Kishore. A lot of people are making the comparison to Arvind Kejriwal, outsider, came in on the promise of hope, change, corruption-free politics, appealing to the youth. Is that a fair comparison? What did you see on the ground?
So the thing with Kejriwal was that when he came in, one did not have that kind of a baggage, which PK also doesn't have, clean slate, and a huge expectation. So I travelled 7 hours to go and interview him in Gopalganj, and he was going through all those areas where he was campaigning. a lot of the crowd was organic. See, the thing with PK is, and this is also which is going to be a test case, is that he's the only one who's saying the bahut ho gayi caste ki rajniti. We need to move beyond caste. We need to talk about jobs and development. And another important point he raised about migrant laborers, those crowded trains and all of that stuff. He kept on talking about that. So it's going to be a test case for whether caste not being a factor for Bihar elections can actually be that turnaround moment. There are, according to Election Commission, 14 lakh first-time voters. Many of those voters don't even think like it's going to be a wasted vote. Many of them, they love the thing, and I've noticed this thing, like when I was getting down to interview PK, I noticed he had just come back from a campaign and he was wearing this kurta pajama, which was white and completely soiled. So we just told him, would you like to change? He changed eventually, but his first response is, no, ye to main hu. So, getting dirty, hustle and bustle, standing on the car, on the top of the car and with all those petals.
Why is he not contesting then, if he wants to get...
See, his logic is, of course, you know what his logic is, but I think if there's been one setback to the PK factor, has been that he has chickened out. Because, like in many other states, like in Bengal, our home state, in Biharis can be very brash, they like it in your face. I think this is something which could work against him. But those 14 lakh first-time voters are going to be a very decisive factor, because many of them told me, we want to vote for PK, pata hai vote waste bhi jayega, lekin bas hum karenge. It's just that I just want to go ahead and vote. So that way PK can hurt both the sides, the NDA, the Congress of course, because he's also targeting the same vote bank which the others are in terms of youth. He's also talking about Dalit ki rajniti nahi karenge, caste ki rajniti nahi karenge. So thereby he's also appealing to them. So I found a lot of crowd which was very, very organic, who actually wanted to come and see him. They like the way he talks to them. And his catchy line has been अर्श पे या फर्श पे, either मैं एकदम नीचे हूँगा 10 seats मिलेंगे या मुझे 150 से ज़्यादा देंगे. But one thing he kept on telling us is that I'm definitely going to be around. I'm not going to go away.
Okay. I also want to go across, before I go to Madhya, to our reporters who are trans-beamed now from our Patna studios, live here in our Noida studios, and that is Arunima and Tupayal. Arunima, I'll start with you. For the longest time, and since you are from Bihar, the whole connotation of MY was Muslim Yadav. That was the bulwark of the RJD's vote, started under Lalu, and then of course Tejashwi trying to broaden the base. But now there is a new MY in Bihar, which is Mahila and Youth. Why do you believe these are the two critical constituencies which could possibly decide the verdict of Bihar 2025?
So let me begin with why Mahila, Zaka. So Mahila is Adhi Abadi. That is the way, the MY that Lalu Prasad Yadav had made popular has been turned into My Baap by his son Tejashwi. So if you see Baap has one of the A's is Adhi Abadi, which is women. It is the Bahujan, it is the Agar, which is the forward caste, it is the Adhi Abadi, and it is the backwards. So that Adhi Abadi has stood with Nitish Kumar steadfast, cutting across caste lines. Even if you are a Yadav Mahila, you've decided to stand with Nitish Kumar. And one big issue why the Yadav Mahila also decided to stand with Nitish Kumar was on the issue of Sharab Bandi. That was a real vote catcher, because Mahila in these parts was suffering. Have they stopped suffering now? I don't think so, because now when I travel across, you go wherever you go into Patna. I spoke to Mahila voters who are entrepreneurs who are now running cafes or running their own industries or factories, contributing to their families, earning there. They also say ki we can just call up anybody, any food delivery agent. We have numbers of people and they will deliver at home here in Patna. I went to the interiors of North Bihar in Darbhanga, just randomly walked into a village and saw a few men and women gathered, and I asked them, they all said Sharab Bandi honi chahiye. And the most interesting bit of that was, there was this young man, 22, 23-year-old, and this is around 3:30, 4 o'clock. He started vociferously saying Sharab Bandi honi chahiye, till I walked closer to him and I could actually smell the alcohol on him. So, alcoholism even now is a big problem, and this was not just one case which I saw in Darbhanga. I saw this in South Bihar also, I saw this in Central Bihar also. So alcoholism and the problem of Sharab Bandi is a real problem, because of which Mahila voters decided to go with Nitish Kumar. But they're now saying that it has to be implemented better, it is just not working on the ground. So that's one question around which the Mahila vote is moving. The second question is that of Yuva. I've been saying this repeatedly, even in Kalyan Bigha, which is Nitish Kumar's ancestral village, Zaka, even there I met youngsters who are big fans of Nitish Kumar, who say that, you know, Nitish has done a lot for us. But you ask them whether Tejashwi Yadav's job promise resonates. Absolutely. They'll say yes, because we want jobs here. We have sent as laborers to various parts of the country, and Bihari is a gali for us. Why can't we work here and get our due? Why is it that after 12th standard we have to move for college education abroad? This is the Patna University students. They're all asking that, you know, why can't something be done to get us our due? And they're not even asking for an IT sector hub like Bengaluru or like Andhra Pradesh, Nara Lokesh is doing. They're not even talking about that level. Basic jobs which is commensurate with the degree that they have earned. So that these are the two classic things that I picked up on the ground as far as Mahila and Yuva are concerned.
Payal, let me ask you, just in terms of, you know, appealing to these two constituencies, obviously it's sops galore. For Nitish Kumar, Aman was talking about this 10,000 rupee thing, which seems to be a big hit with a lot of women. Then, of course, the promise to take it up to 2 lakhs for financing their businesses. Tejashwi Yadav, on the other hand, is promising 30,000 rupees to Jivika Didis. Again, people are doing the math and it just doesn't add up. You have to have 5 lakh crores when the total budget outlay for Bihar is about 3.5 lakh crores or so. Are people not talking about the improbability of these promises, or are people like, you know, हमें जो भी मिल रहा है वो ठीक है?
People are definitely aspirational. The BJP understands that. Nitish Kumar's party understands that. But they are trying to drive home a point, Zaka, that जो मिला है उस पे विश्वास करो, जो मुंगेरी लाल के हसीन सपने उस पे विश्वास मत करो. That's exactly what the point that the BJP and the NDA are driving to. The Nitish Kumar has a proven track record. He's been able to deliver, you know, thing after thing. If you would have travelled, you know, to Bihar probably in the 90s, you would understand what roads really meant, what safety really meant. All of this is being worked upon in a great way. There's a lot of you know, benefit that you get in from a double engine growth government. That is the point that they're driving home. What the BJP is now driving home is that, you know, he can promise the moon to you because he has no chance and he doesn't want to win the election as well. The campaigning, for example, look at this. You know, people make fun of Nitish Kumar's mental health, but Nitish Kumar, on a day when it was raining, Zaka has gone by road and travelled 400 kilometers while Tejashwi Yadav kept sitting at home. So that's the comparison people really want to know. And, you know, remember, gone are the days when people are actually foolish to buy into the arguments the politicians are making. People want to see real-time delivery right now. That's at least what I caught on ground, that even if there are some certain communities which will not vote for the BJP, but there's been a lot of softening of stand as far as that is concerned. You know, right from the flight, that fact that I got onto a flight to come to Patna to now, everybody's been speaking about this one thing, that, you know, there's a Vedag image of Nitish Kumar and he's the one who's going to be able to deliver. At least that's the promise that they really have. And not to forget that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has made a lot of aspirational promises for the people of Bihar as well. You know, education is something which Arunima was just now raising as well. Prime Minister in his run-up to the Bihar elections has announced a number of things that is going to be there. Upskilling is going to be there. The government of the day has also said that they're going to get a semiconductor unit in over here as well. So it's not just that the Bihari youth want to just get aspirational jobs just in terms of government jobs. They're trying to, you know, make it even further. Why can't you have jobs which are over and above what is being promised by other parties?
Okay. So we've talked about Mahila, we've talked about youth. The one thing in the context of Bihar, Madhuparna, we've not talked about is caste. I mean, Bihar used to be the most, you know, caste intense state in that sense. You know, caste used to be a reason for why people voted, or a determining factor for how people vote. Has that changed, or is that still underlying, while, you know, Arunima and Payal and Pallavi have been talking about aspirational vote?
No, Zaka, I think caste is the chemistry in Bihar. You know, because Bihar is this one state that caste cauldron is the most important thing, and caste dominates every factor and every pattern. So yes, Arunima is right when she was talking about women voters. Women voters may not be voting, you know, depending on their caste, because they have certain other things to consider. They need to consider their security. They also need to consider Sharab Bandi, as she was also mentioning. Now they also needs to see what kind of money they are getting, because they really need it. But, you know, caste is something that nobody really refuses to believe. You know, every party, BJP, let's say that NDA allies, let's say the Mahagathbandhan partners, they all know that they have to even field their candidates depending on the caste, what are the caste pockets, Yadav, Rajput, this, that. So that is very much there, and that is not going to go anywhere. In fact, when I was talking to people when we are traveling, so the normal cadres, the workers, they are mentioning the caste of a particular magistrate or a particular SP or an SSP, and they are saying that, okay, our candidate is from this certain caste, and the SP and the magistrate, they are from the certain caste, and if the caste is similar, then they can manage. So these kind of conversation happens, and these are not random conversation. These are the conversations that happen on the ground all the time that I could find. And Mahila voters, yes, they may vote either side, maybe for Nitish Kumar, that may go, irrespective of caste, but if you go by the pocket, even the Bahubali constituencies, caste is another factor, because you see, so we travel to Siwan, we travel to Raghunathpur, where Osama Sahab has been fielded by RJD, he is the son of Sahabuddin. So again the caste factor comes. So the sitting MLA, he is a representative of Yadav caste, but then Muslim factor is also important, and of course RJD is trying to kind of revive the legacy of Shahabuddin. So when they got in Osama Sahab, the people, they were saying that Yadav candidate, okay, he has to vacate, but you see, he is still there as the proposer of Osama Sahab, which means that Yadav factor, Yadav caste, they are supporting Osama Sahab, so these kind of things. In fact, this time I felt even more than the religion factor, the caste, it seems to be more dominant.
Okay, let's bring in what the X factors are. What is at stake really for both the alliances? At the end of the day, it is going to be a battle between both of these alliances, the NDA, which is the ruling alliance, and of course the Mahagathbandhan or the India alliance, which is the challenger, trying to oust the NDA from power. Like I said, Nitish Kumar has been there for almost 20 years now, in fact exactly 20 years. So what's at stake for the NDA, the ruling coalition? It's a bit of a referendum, no doubt, on Nitish Kumar. He's been in office for the last 20 years. The Sushasan, or good governance, which had become a moniker around him, Sushasan Babu, that's going to be put to test in this election. Also another test of this whole phrase of anti-incumbency. Can he buck the anti-incumbency tide? Well, we'll have to wait and see till the 14th of November. Then it is the first electoral test for the NDA nationally after Operation Sindoor. We had pretty tumultuous events, momentous events over the last few months. Operation Sindoor, the 4-day war between India and Pakistan, and national security and India first is a big calling card for the NDA. Also, it's going to be a verdict on the NDA's Vikas model, which the Prime Minister has been talking about, Amit Shah has been talking about, versus what the opposition is insisting on, that there is a huge jobs crisis, that young people are not getting enough or good enough jobs. Now, what's at stake as far as the India alliance is concerned? Because remember, in 2024, they got a bit of a bump up with the Lok Sabha elections. That got dented again in Haryana and in Maharashtra. What will Bihar show? Number one, it's a do-or-die battle, particularly for the Gathbandhan, because remember, they did badly in the Lok Sabha elections in 2024, even though in Uttar Pradesh, for example, the India alliance did much better, but in Bihar, they were reduced to just 4 MPs. Two, this whole baggage around Jungle Raj. Can Tejashwi Yadav, and mind you, this is the second consecutive election where he is the face. It's either for him or against him that people are voting. Can he shake off that legacy of Jungle Raj, which is associated both with his father's tenure as well as his mother's tenure? And then there is the test for this entire narrative around vote chori, SIR. Even today, Rahul Gandhi had his press conference where he talked about the H-bomb. Haryana, he's made a series of allegations there. He's talked about this previously in the context of Karnataka, Maharashtra. Will it have an impact at all in the state of Bihar in conjunction with this SIR exercise and the Voter Adhikar Yatra that they undertook back in August and September? And the final factor that's at stake as far as the opposition alliance is concerned, the traditional vote bank of MY. Can Tejashwi Yadav spread beyond these two traditional constituencies and try and take a leaf out of Akhilesh Yadav's book, in neighboring Uttar Pradesh, where he represents a slightly more broad-based coalition. Akhilesh calls it PDA. Can Tejashwi find his version of PDA in Bihar? Let me take you up on that point, Aman. Akhilesh Yadav, I think I have made that reference to him specifically because he's no longer seen, or at least wants to be seen, as a Yadav leader. Can Tejashwi make that eclipse?
Well, he's tried to, Zaka, and this time I believe in their candidate list about last time I think 68 Yadavs got the ticket. This time it's down to 61. So he's tried to take a leaf out of Akhilesh Yadav's book, but I think not fully. He's not been able to replicate what Akhilesh Yadav did in the Lok Sabha elections. That said, I would like to mention that there are, I think, 3 big issues in this election which have been spoken about a bit less, and one issue which is a non-issue which has been spoken about a lot, that is the SIR issue. I think the SIR Yatra that Rahul Gandhi and Tejashwi Yadav took out, they peaked too early. Right now, when you travel on the ground, and my colleagues have also done that, I don't think SIR is any issue on the ground. Bihar is such an aware state. If one vote of a villager in Bihar is taken away, you can expect mayhem there. People take their vote very, very seriously. Yeah. So I think people still complain that line mein lagna pada, document dena pada, but people are over that phase. People have got their voter cards and they are looking forward to vote. I think the biggest mistake, if this election is lost by the RJD, was done 3 months back. They had this golden chance to pin down Nitish Kumar on Jungle Raj when that big murder of a businessman had happened in Patna right next to Gandhi Maidan. Tejashwi Yadav took up that issue, but soon, I don't know for what reason, they gave up that issue and they latched on to the SIR, which proved to be a non-issue. You can only defeat Nitish Kumar in Bihar if you can convince the people that Nitish Kumar is also causing Jungle Raj. You have not been able to convince people on that. So I think that is a big ace up Nitish Kumar's sleeve. The other 2 things, I think, are big resonance on the ground. Number 1, jobs. You saw Tejashwi Yadav made this huge promise about a government job to every family. Not possible, but still, people still feel कि 3 crore बोल रहा है 1 crore तो दे ही देगा ना, something will happen. Similarly, I think BJP was forced in its manifesto to promise 1 crore jobs because Tejashwi Yadav took the lead in that. And I think the biggest factor I see, which is the underlying factor on the ground, is free electricity. You travel to villages in Bihar, Zaka and my colleagues also have traveled, you will find that there is free electricity in Bihar right now. On August 1, Nitish Kumar did this big move of free 125 units to every domestic consumer in Bihar. That's a big, big factor when you travel on the ground now. I remember meeting a family which said, "Hamari bhais bhi ab pankhe ke niche soti hai, but gaon mein." So, it's like that. Free electricity is a big, big boon. People are really scared that if Nitish Kumar, if NDA goes, this free electricity will stop. So I think that's a big factor which maybe media may not have spoken about a lot.
I think Arunima also wanted to come in. You wanted to weigh in on something that was said here. Yeah.
I just wanted to, make that minor point where Aman said that, when that Gandhi Maidan murder happened, it was a shocker because, all the top, who's who is right now in that Gandhi Maidan area in Hotel Maurya, the top political leaders, the top media persons, they're all there. And this murder actually happened at Gandhi Maidan. So when I asked some of the netas from the opposition rank as well as from the NDA rank as to why was law and order not made a big issue, Dilip Jaiswal, in fact, the state BJP president, told me they realized that the people responsible had RJD connection. The people who were arrested by the police had an RJD connection, and that perhaps put the government, put the opposition of the day on the back foot. And when I asked the same question to the Mahagathbandhan as to why did you give up your plank of law and order, I think the sense I got was that they did not want to play on the pitch of Narendra Modi and Nitish Kumar. They thought if they're going to harp on law and order, then this Jungle Raj debate will become at the center of Bihar politics. And Tejashwi is very clear, he only wants the focus on jobs, migration and izzat for Biharis.
But I just want to ask Rahul that, you mentioned that, right? I think a quarter of the population is either first time or second time voters who have no recollection of this Jungle Raj. And yet you've seen Prime Minister, Home Minister, everyone sort of saying, young people, ask your older generation what it was like in the 90s. These are kids who were born past, the year 2000. They have no memory of a Jungle Raj. Why is it then evoking such strong sentiment?
Look, this is a question that I've posed to a large number of other political analysts and experts. The fact is that while you may not yourself have seen those horrible days, your parents, your uncles, your elder relatives, your cousins, they might have endured a lot of that. So the memory lives on.
So it's like a folklore
thing. And when you were growing up, you were told that, listen, mind yourself because so-and-so is going to come and knock you off your pedestal. Exactly, gabbar aa jayega, that kind of thing. So fundamentally, there's a memory that lives on. But as I've said, I think the youth voter has already shown that it's pragmatic and it is divided. I don't think anyone owns that youth voter because, quite frankly, as I said and I pointed the statistics out, they are facing the brunt of what is known as economic neglect. Let's be honest about it. Yes, over the last few years, Bihar has emerged as the second largest growing, fastest growing state by GSDP terms. But fundamentally, that benchmark is very low. So there is a disaffection there, and I don't think this business of Jungle Raj is going to cloud that or in any way sort of minimize that disaffection. I think the one point that we mustn't forget in all of this is the meta-narrative. And that meta-narrative, I think, is going to make this election a high-stakes one for the NDA. This is the first election after 2024 which is taking place in a mainland Hindi heartland state. And it is the Hindi heartland that gave the heartache, so to speak, to the NDA. They have to project dominance and some amount of acceptability here. So I think that's one of the reasons why you see this desperate. And if you just look at the manner in which the entire NDA has come together, it does look the more cohesive and the more focused on a message grouping. And the way they've gone in is because they know that beyond from here, things could change from a narrative perspective. And what is that? The fact that somebody like in RJD's top man, the chief minister, has come out and hit hard. Look, this has been a very focused campaign from both sides. You haven't seen too much of the caste game being played out. There's no one who's made a faux pas so that they can be sort of pincered on that issue. This is really a bread and butter election, and I'm therefore very interested to see. And on PK, for example, this is PK's problem. Look, a startup, a breakout startup, only two have ever succeeded before. And they too have come up against massive anti-incumbency. One is the AAP and the other was the Telugu Desam. So the AAP came up on the back of a corruption movement, right? Telugu Desam an identity movement. Both were startups, both did fantastically. PK doesn't have that massive national sentiment that he's riding. It's not born out of any sort of massive. So his doing well would tell you whether Bihar is beginning to look beyond that caste, mirror that, that was referred to. So I think let's look at those numbers very closely. I'm not expecting PK to get more than about 8 to 9% of the vote, if that. I think he's going to make a difference where the youth vote is concerned. He's certainly going to chip away at it. But remember, the larger constituencies are still the women and the 30 to 50-year-old voter in Bihar. And they haven't really shown any signs, as our reporters are telling us, as Arunima and Payal are telling us, of breaking away.
No, I also want to, before I go back to one of the things that Aman said, it was a wrong issue that the opposition picked up in SIR. They made a lot of noise around it. There was this Voter Adhikar Yatra. I just want to show that on the magic wall. If at all the SIR impact is there, if at all you feel it on election day or on counting day, these are the seats that you will see the impact of it. These are seats where, so the total number of electors or total number of voters whose names have gone out of the electoral rolls is 68.5, almost 69 lakhs. That roughly works out to about 7% of the 7.42 crore voters who are eligible. These are the 106 constituencies, which is roughly about a little less than half the state, the 106 constituencies where the impact of this could be felt. This is much above the 7%. So for example, in Simanchal, many of these seats, up to 10 or maybe even 15% of the voter names had been deleted. And in these seats, the NDA had a decisive edge in 2020. They won almost 60 out of these seats, whereas the Mahagathbandhan had just 45. Even though the vote share difference is barely a percent, it's less than a percent. These seats are the seats which went to polls in the second and third phase in 2020. This is where the election really turned in 2020. The southern belt seats, which used to be the one-time Naxal-affected seats, these went to polls in the first phase. The Mahagathbandhan dominated these seats, not just the RJD, the CPIML, for example, did exceedingly well in this phase. What turned around for the NDA was phases 2 and 3, where they won in these seats, Mithilanchal, some of the Champaran districts, and of course in the far east, which is in Simanchal, primarily riding on two factors. One, the turnout of women. The women turned out in huge numbers in these two phases. And second, on the rhetoric of polarization. This was the first election, remember, bang in the middle of COVID. There were all of that stuff about, migrant labor having to walk back and so on. It was a highly polarized election. So those two factors turned it around for the NDA. This time in 2025, Pallavi, and you were there, and I'm sure you asked this to Congress leaders, RJD leaders, there was so much talk around this SIR, vote chori. Even today, on the eve of the election, Rahul Gandhi has done this big press conference. Is it having an impact? Are people talking about it? And then they suddenly stopped after the dates were announced in early October for the entire, deep end of the campaigning, the last month of campaigning. No one talked about SIR. I don't think even Rahul Gandhi in his campaigns in Bihar
sporadically he did speak about it. So I travelled from where he began his voter adhikar yatra, Dehri on Son, which falls in the Rohtas district, from Sasaram, and I travelled to bits and other places as time permitted, ending it with, Chapra I went, then I ended it with the Gandhi Maidan in Patna. People talk about it. I mean, wherever you ask them, they talk about it. But talking does not mean you vote on it. In fact, definitely not. I mean, in some areas, and I found this even in the RJD dominant areas like Sasaram mein tha, kuch areas of Chapra and all are there. They said, हाँ हुआ है, vote चोरी, लेकिन अब सब ठीक हो गया है. They feel.
And who do they hold responsible for it, if at all they feel that?
So two ways. I mean, they were praising the election commission, but many of them appreciated Rahul Gandhi for the fact that at least he raised this issue. But now things have become okay. So now they don't think that there's going to be vote chori on the ground. That is never ever going to be an election issue. The election issue is clearly going to be jobs, law and order, women factor, and all of that. See, what I found interesting was that one, the Mahagathbandhan manifesto did not mention vote chori at all. Second is that the first joint rally of Rahul Gandhi and Tejashwi's silence on it is conspicuous by its absence. He just did not speak about vote chori. He's smart. He knows that this is not an election issue. But Rahul Gandhi gone on and on about vote chori. And I was told that Rahul Gandhi called up the Congress spokespersons and told them that whatever press conference you're holding in Patna, since RJD is not going to make this an issue, this should be the big issue. So you had a Sachin Pilot, the Himachal CM, Ashok Gehlot, all of them doing that press conference, and they kept on talking about vote chori. Congress wants to make this an issue. Look at the timing of Rahul Gandhi's press conference today. He's doing it a day before voting, hoping that he can play this mind game on the Bihari voter, especially the Congress voter, that, tumhari vote chori ho sakti hai. Second, very quickly, is that the biggest problem of the Congress always has been that the cadre never goes to the booth. This is also his attempt to try and galvanize the cadre, ki please be there at the booth when the voting is taking place and ensure that there is no vote chori taking place. But if you're asking me simply whether it's an issue in Bihar, certainly not.
And I just want to, before I go to Madhuparna, the women factor that all of us have been talking about, and this is really a constituency that is caste agnostic, has voted for Nitish Kumar and for the JDU for almost 20 years now. I mean, the first major re-election that he won in 2010, it was fought on the cycle being given to high school girls. Today, those girls are women, middle-aged women who remember this and who, in a sense, look at it as a sign of gratitude for what he did for them. So look at the women vote, and I said this in 2020. This is what sort of changed the election midway. In the first phase, in the southern part, it is actually the Gathbandhan that did well. But these are the 71 seats where there was 10% more women. In fact, Bihar in the 2020 election was statewide, perhaps one of the first states, certainly in northern India, one of the first states, overall voter turnout, there was almost 5% more women who turned out than men. I think it was 69 women, percentage women, and 64 or 65% men. Whereas in these 70-odd seats, it was 10% more, which means that for every 10 male voters, there was 11 women voters who turned out, and a bulk of these voters went for the NDA. It's almost a more than 2:1 ratio. MGB got just 20, the NDA got 46. There was a 4% gap, almost 4.3% gap in vote share between the NDA and the MGB. And this is where the election really turned as far as the women vote is concerned. The question, though, is women too are aspirational. They too want jobs. And even though, as I said, they are caste agnostic, why is it that Tejashwi Yadav and the RJD is not able to appeal to them in a way that Nitish has made them into a solid vote bank?
So if you are talking to the women voters, they'll tell you why. because they feel if Lalu, so Tejashwi, they look at Tejashwi Yadav, you know, through the prism of Lalu Prasad Yadav. So that's the glasses they look through, and they think that if the same party comes back, then again those same stories of abduction, those same stories of eve teasing, those same stories of killing, and all these security factors, you know, their parents will tell them that, you know, you cannot go out of your house after 5 p.m. because anybody and everybody can just randomly come and abduct you. So these are the stories that, and these are not exactly folklores. Some, I mean, even the younger kids who are now probably, who have now just become the voters.
18, yeah.
Yes, so they have turned 18. So even the girls who started riding bicycles a few years back, so they are also telling me the same story, that, you know, we have seen that our friend was abducted. And you know, Zaka, what happens in villages, in rural hinterland, lot of such cases, incidents, those just, you know, don't reach police station, so we don't know. You know, living in a city, we just think that this percentage of FIR we can see, but, you know, that is not the reality on the ground. So many things happen. They are abducted, then you know, their parents pay some ransom and they just return to their houses, and no case, nothing. Even somebody dares to file a case, they need to withdraw it, because that kind of influence all these Bahubalis have. And when they are seeing that in some constituencies, of course they are now more aware, the younger ones, they read newspapers, they are always on social media, they know what is happening. So when they see that you know, such strong men kind of candidates, or their sons, their daughters, their wives are fighting elections, so they get scared. They think, okay, if not in Patna, maybe in Mokama, maybe in Siwan, maybe in Raghunathpur, that kind of you know, history is going to come back. So this is fear. And apart from that, of course, the Jivika is the main thing. So Nitish Kumar does have a lot of plans, does have a lot of schemes running. Jivika Didi is one of them. Then the participation of women in politics, Mahila in politics, that is, I have also spoken to some Mahila Sarpanch who have been Sarpanch or now contesting. So these women are also saying that, you know, in JDU, the leaders, they really listen to us. We do have an opinion. You guys don't know because you live in Delhi. Even people living in Patna, they don't know. Okay. But we got a say. So these kind of things. One complaint they have, that is, Arunima was also mentioning, is this Sharabandi thing. So I also faced a similar kind of a scenario when I was in Siwan. So I was talking to a voter, and I mean, I was holding a chopal, and this villagers, they were there. So 2-3 villagers were talking a lot, and of course I could sense that they were drunk, and I just asked someone that from where they are getting, you know, alcohol. So that man, he grinned and he said that even if you want, I can get you one. Only the difference is you have to pay some amount of money for a glass that we used to pay for a bottle earlier.
Yeah.
So the plain talk is that maybe
100 रुपए की बोतल अब 500 में मिलती है.
हाँ, वो 100 का. So that is another complaint. The women are saying that, you know, पहले तो 100 रुपए जाता था घर से, अभी शायद 500-1000 जाता है, but दारू पी के तो अभी भी मर्द आता है घर पे. So these are the plain talks that they are saying, that they are asking, they are seeking for a stricter ban or stricter execution of the ban.
Payal wanted to make a point on this. Yeah, Payal.
The fact remains that I have tracked this election from 2020, but before that I must tell you, Zaka, that whenever we would travel to Bihar, you know, in the 90s, we would realize that, you know, you could not even go to Bihar or travel across Bihar after 3 o'clock. That's a reality that we faced, you know, on our own as well. It was impossible to travel in Bihar, you know, after 3 o'clock, because either you'd be abducted, either you'd be looted or whatever. From that image to come over here, 2020, I remember very, very clearly, like you were saying, the first phase did not go the way the BJP or the NDA really would have liked their way. But that was actually a turnaround. Two factors played very, very crucially on ground. Of course, women were relieved that at least there was an attempt to make the Sharabandi really, come effective on ground. Nobody over here, including the BJP and the NDA, saying it's perfectly implemented. That is one of the reasons that even in their rallies, they are saying that we're going to have a better implementation of that really happen. Second, one underrated factor which actually played out in the 2020 elections was that Prime Minister Narendra Modi, along with Nitish Kumar, did not let us sleep hungry. That was at the peak of COVID, and migrant laborers were walking down to their state as well. But the free ration that the Prime Minister really gave actually made a lot of difference. That's the voice that I actually caught on ground. And from there on, to just say Nitish Kumar has been one person who's also been very, very well known across the entire country for being a person who did not even allow his own family to come to the Chief Minister's residence. I was just hearing from somebody the other day that his late wife just came into his Chief Minister's residence only in the form of ashes. That is the way he's kept his image going as well. So Nitish Kumar is not just a hit amongst political parties who are on his side. His conduct has also spoken for himself, and women of course have backed him. And like you were mentioning, 5.2% extra women voting. So, and that was the time that the BJP also realized that women are a crucial factor. From there on, every state they've announced specific schemes for women and special focus on women as well. Bihar 2020 was the big learning.
But one difference, I think, between then and now is that the BJP has also learned that lesson that they needed to send out an unambiguous signal that Nitish will be Chief Minister even if the NDA wins. I mean, they were a little sort of dithering around that question, and ultimately I think the Prime Minister said there's no question about it. We will fight under his name, and if we win, he will continue to be Chief Minister. How and why was that important?
Well, I think, Zaka, there is no choice with the BJP. I think without Nitish Kumar, BJP cannot win Bihar. It's a simple reality on the ground. Nitish Kumar may be 74, his mental acumen may not be as sharp as it was in 2005, but still he remains the big vote puller in Bihar. He's somebody with the appeal across castes. Besides, I think the Muslims don't vote for the JDU in that measure. Muslims still vote for the RJD, but all other castes, I feel Nitish Kumar still has a lot of goodwill on the ground. He's the person who has turned around the state. People credit him for that. And I think this being Nitish Kumar's last election, I would say, people on the ground also tell me that, person who has served us for 20 years, turned around the state, we should not defeat and retire him. Let him choose his time of retirement. We will make him win, and then let him have his call on when he wants to hang his boots. I think that is the feeling on the ground in India.
So this whole thing about making an... Sorry.
And also, I'm sorry, just quickly, many areas I went to, I found them a little angry with some of the BJP MLAs, not so much with Nitish Kumar. So somehow that image of him, like what I was pointing out, of the Prime Minister not letting his family in, I think that's clicked for Nitish Kumar, which is why I think the RJD is going on and on about he's going to be another Eknath Shinde.
Yeah, I was going to exactly ask that. I mean, they can't make an Eknath Shinde out of him.
Winnability. It's also about insurance. Don't forget who props them up at the center.
The biggest
So you have a situation where the
biggest
JDU...
problem, Rahul.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
The biggest problem for the NDA now is going to be what after Nitish Kumar. I remember we were sitting in an off-record briefing with one of those biggest BJP leaders, and many people asked him that what is your plan for Bihar after Nitish Kumar is really gone. Clearly no answers, because Nitish Kumar is the overarching figure. But to look ahead, some of the BJP leaders who probably could have filled in, they have terrible reputation, and that's all over the media.
So Arunima also wanted to make that point. I mean, at some point, look, the BJP, they've done this in Madhya Pradesh, they've done this in Rajasthan, they've done this most famously in Maharashtra. What is the post-Nitish future of the NDA? I think that's a...
But that's a good question, but I think that'll only sort of begin to be asked in 29, to be honest. Right now, they need Nitish. Nitish is that sidecar that the BJP requires.
Yeah.
He's one of those...
He's like the JN Viru from the motorcycle in Sholay.
So you mustn't forget that. So there's been a compulsion also. And the Prime Minister is very pragmatic. Look, he doesn't want anyone to suggest. Remember that whole narrative began after 2024. He can't carry his allies along with them. Look at the people who've fallen by the wayside. Nitish fits that very well because he's come back.
Yeah.
They've really worked hard to paper over those cracks.
So, Rahul...
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so 25 से 30 फिर से Nitish is a poster that has come up prominently. The Dak Bangla Chauraha of Patna is quite well known. It's one of those old Dak Banglas from British era. 25 से 30 has come up. On the issue of his health, you ask people on the ground there, some of them will turn around and tell us जी वो बूढ़े हो गए हैं तो क्या हुआ, काम तो वो कर रहे हैं ना, बूढ़े तो लालू प्रसाद यादव भी हो गए हैं. एंड लालू प्रसाद यादव has done just one road show right now in Danapur. He also has a stake in proving that his health is not correct, because when he did that road show, Chirag Paswan and NDA leaders turned around and said, if you're good enough to do a road show, why are you on bail on health grounds? So Lalu Prasad health is as much a talking point as Nitish Kumar's health. And Nitish's mental agility, is that something of concern to the voters? What are voters on ground saying? कि काम तो वो कर रहे हैं ना, आप कह रहे हैं कि वो किसी को माला पहना देते हैं, किसी के सर पे टोकरी रख देते हैं, but काम तो नहीं रुका है, काम तो चल रहा है. So I don't, and then that's the reason I think perhaps the personal attacks on Nitish are also not below the belt. That amount of respect remains.
Just to quickly add to that, Rahul and Zaka, the one thing that happens is Nitish Kumar may be
not here so much, that there could be a Pandyan to Nitish Kumar. So I think that is also one reason why Nitish Kumar ke health is not so resonating.
Right.
And
Payal.
Oh, yeah.
And just to add that Nitish Kumar, whenever he sits down to sign files, he is perfectly fine. He's not signed a single file which has been wrongly signed. That's at least what people close to him really say, that, he's not permanently probably in this state of mind. Age catches up with everyone.
Okay, we've got to wrap up. We're completely out of time. Thank you very much, Aman, Rahul, Payal, Arunima, Pallavi and Madhupurna for joining us. So that was our deep dive, the special broadcast into who will win the big battle for Bihar. Phase 1 begins at 7 a.m. on the 6th of November. Do catch us here on CNN News 18. Thank you for your time.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Shifting focus to a CNN News 18 exclusive, Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, the first Indian to step aboard the International Space Station as part of the Axiom Mission 4, earlier spoke with my colleague Shrishti. This is an exclusive conversation in which he describes his space journey, an unforgettable experience, and what lies ahead. Listen in to that exclusive conversation.
Today we have with us Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, yes, the Indian astronaut who made a historic mission for India and became the first Indian astronaut to board the International Space Station. Group Captain Shukla, welcome to CNN News 18. It's been months since that historic mission. How do you think it has changed the way people dream, the way India dream?
I think in a sense, a lot of ways it has changed. I did not have an idea of how this will impact people back home, but I can say that I'm extremely happy to see how people are excited about this, especially kids and youth. They are so excited about space now. They ask me such, strange and interesting questions. It just shows that their interest is growing and they are reading up on their own. And I think it is a great momentum that we should keep giving wave to, because the plan that we have of becoming a developed nation by 2047 and, precursor to that, a lot of missions that we have, I think getting this new generation excited and wanting to be involved, to be a part of this, I think that is going to be our core strength. So I'm really happy with the kind of excitement that is there in the country.
Right, sir. I think the big dream that India has is Gaganyaan, and the preparations are there. Yes, 2 years down the line. How do you think the preparations are going for that?
The preparations are going very well. In my talk today as well, one of the key points that I wanted to communicate was that the human space missions are extremely challenging and they're very complex. And I think that is what is to be understood by everyone. So these are not simple things to be done. So it takes time. But I'm very happy to say that the preparations are going very well and we are on the track. And now that we have been a part of a human space mission end to end, we have filled in the gaps. If at all there were some gaps, we have the knowledge now. And I think very soon we would be on our path of launching someone from Indian soil on an Indian rocket.
So it's been 5 decades since humans landed on the moon. You talked about it. So apart from just a technological demonstration, this human spaceflight, how important it is for India, also in terms of the scientific research? Why is it so important for us to do a human spaceflight?
See, when we pursue human spaceflight missions, what we are essentially trying to do is sustain life in an environment where it should not exist. The conditions are very harsh. And so what happens is, by pursuing this, you are solving very unique problems and coming up with unique solutions. And these solutions have a potential application for terrestrial based problems, over a period of time. And by pursuing such complex and arduous missions, what happens is that you create an entire ecosystem, the machinery to solve these complex problems, which not only solve these problems for you, but they solve a lot of other problems. And you stumble upon other solutions which you did not even think of in the first place. So I think just by the pursuit of such complex missions, you change the entire ecosystem of in a country of a particular section, and that ecosystem develops, and it has the power to transform your education, transform your R&D setup, transform your industrial base setup, transform your economy, and uplift so many people on earth. And I said this when during my talk as well, that when you launch one to space, you actually lift 1 million here on earth.
Right. So from being a test pilot in the Indian Air Force to now becoming an astronaut, how has life changed for you?
In terms of altitude, yes, a few, one more zero was added to how high I was flying, but it has changed in a lot of ways. I have been extremely fortunate to get the chance to travel to space and represent India on the International Space Station, and I absolutely enjoy that privilege that I have, but I also have a great sense of responsibility that comes along with it, and that is what my mission now is. I had a very different job description and mission back then when I was doing the test pilot job in the Air Force, and now I have a very different job and a very different mission. So I hope I'm able to do that as honestly and as sincerely as possible, and I hope I'm able to create and write this excitement which is there right now in the country, and use this to enable our space program to grow by leaps and bounds of where we want to get.
Right. And becoming an astronaut is now a dream that millions of Indians thought about, but now it can actually turn into reality. What is one word to the students?
Good evening, you're watching Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. Zohran Mamdani has been elected as the first Indian American and Muslim mayor of New York City. He's also the youngest mayor of the city in over 100 years. Now the question is, as you're watching this broadcast in Bangalore or Hyderabad or Delhi or Mumbai, why should you care about some city 10,000 miles away and them electing somebody who happens to be of Indian origin? Well, for starters, he is of Indian origin. His parents are Mahmood Mamdani, who is a famous African-American professor of African studies, really, at the Columbia University. And his mother is a little more well-known here in India, the famous filmmaker Meera Nair. But that's just